Hey, so I'm about to go and preach on the lake of fire from Revelation chapter 20. We've been going all through the book of Revelation, and now suddenly we're in chapter 20, and we have this passage that makes a lot of people very uncomfortable. Let me just read these two verses to you. It says, "Then death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Anyone whose name was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." Depending on what church background you come from, what your childhood was like, you may have some very scary images associated with that term, the lake of fire. But we're going to see with that, though it should make us nervous and uncomfortable, there are two different types of fear. One type of fear is the child scared that there's an evil, scary, mean monster in the closet that's going to come out and eat them. That is the image of someone good discovering something big and strong and powerful and evil that's going to hurt them. That's one type of fear. Another type of fear is the criminal who is guilty, who's been running from the law for some time, and all of a sudden he hears the police sirens in the background, and his heart begins to beat because he knows that justice might be coming. The type of fear that this image is meant to evoke and to bring is very much of the second type. It's when you know you're facing justice and you know you're in trouble. Let's just give a little context to this. What do I mean? Okay, let me read the two verses before this. "And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before God. Books were opened. Then another book was opened, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to their works as recorded in the books. The sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and Hades were delivered up, the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one by his works." All right, so this is the picture of what we got going on here. Justice has finally come to the world. All the campaigners, all the people who've been protesting, all the people who have been signing petitions for politicians and all the rest and saying, we need justice in the world. It's going to happen one day. But on that day, we're going to realize that all our cries for justice were ever so small. Usually, our cries for justice were about what somebody else did. What somebody else did maybe to us, or somebody we care about, or some groups of innocents we felt compassion for, and we cried out for justice against the system, against some politician, against some government, or some leader somewhere doing something bad to someone else, or maybe even to us. Or the way someone else had hurt us personally, a friend who had betrayed us, a parent who was just a terrible, either a negligent or an abusive parent. We want justice for that. A spouse who left us, a spouse who cheated on us, children who grew up and were ungrateful and didn't take care of us in our old age. We want justice for these things. But when justice finally comes at the end of time, no one gets away with anything. And it's described as a lake of fire. When a lake of fire invokes this images of light. I mean, if you're surrounded by a lake of fire, that's pretty bright. There's no place for any shadowy deeds to hide. No place for any selfishness, unclean, unkind words. No place for anything to hide. Everything's going to be exposed. Every shadow is going to be taken away on that day. And it's going to be intense, and it's going to be uncomfortable. The books will be opened. I live down the road from Cambridge. We got some great libraries up there at Cambridge University. But the ones in heaven are much greater. And they're going to open up the books for your life, my life. And they're going to go through the details of that book. When you were 12 years old, you sent a girl home crying from school because of something you said or the way you treated her. You never repented of that. You never approached her to make up and to reconcile for that. All those things are going to be gone through from throughout our whole lives. We're going to have to give account of every deed, and there's nothing will be hidden on that day. Everyone we've ever hurt, everything we've ever said, anything unkind to, we're going to have to give an account, and it's going to be justice not for just the people out there, but for us. And this is good news for the universe. Finally, everything crooked will be made straight. We'll have our prayers for justice answered, but we realize it's just not for the system out there. It's for me. It's for you. And it'll be a time of perfect light, and we will enter into a universe of justice, a lake, a sea of perfect fire, where no shadows can hide, where God's holiness is perfectly magnified, where we step into that realm of justice. And that's who God is. He's a just and holy God, and everything unjust and corrupt is one day going to have to be made straight. And the books are open. But that's not the end of the story. It says there's this other book, the book of life, which is sometimes called the Lamb's book of life. This is another type of book. There's all those books, and then there's this special book. There's this Lamb's book. And if your name gets written in that book, something different happens. It's not that your name is no longer written in the other books, or that there's not a justice you have to face, but you end up walking into a different type of lake. It's a lake we've already seen in the book of Revelation. It's this sea of crystal, this lake of mercy, where we don't get just what we deserve. We get what someone else deserves. It's as if at the beginning of time, before the creation of the universe, within the Godhead, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, the Father said, look, we're going to make them, but they're going to sin, and they're going to rebel, and they're going to turn away, but one day we will bring justice to this planet. And it's if the Son says, Father, I want another type of book. I want another book written. And I want them judged not just on the basis of what they have done, but on the basis of what I have done. And the Father says, Son, you do know what this will entail and mean for you. And the Son says, yes, I do. And the Father says, you know, this means that you will have to step into that lake of fire. You will have to step into that sea of perfect justice, not for any bad or evil you have done, but for their sins and what they have done. And the Son says, yes, Father, I know everything that it will cost me and do, but I want the nations. I want a book of my own where I can have a people for myself, judged not just on what they have done, but what I have done. And this is the whole story of redemption. The Lamb got his book. It is a book of life. And yes, in heaven, we will be judged according to our deeds. You will, and I will. And that will be significant. Our deeds in this life matter and count. And yet there's another book for us who want to be not just judged by justice, which is pretty much what all religions are about. They weigh your good deeds against your bad deeds. Great. I mean, hell's not the same for everybody. It's not the same for Hitler as it is for, some great altruistic person. We step into the lake of fire on the basis of our deeds. The idea that hell is somehow this indiscriminate, reckless place of torment, that betrays the fact that it's based on justice. It's different for everybody, but it's a place of justice apart from the mercy and kindness and nearness of God. There's another book, a book that brings together perfect justice and perfect mercy. And you want your name written in this book. Yes, the deeds that you've done in this life will matter. There will be rewards, and just like not everyone's the same in hell, not everyone's the same in heaven. But if your name is in this book, you get invited to the party. You get invited to the place that no human deserves to go to. It's a place where you go, not because you're a good person, but because Jesus was a great person. He invites you and me there. He more than invites to where he summons you. He summons people, and he calls people to come and experience it. To come and be forgiven, it is a command. To come and have all the shame and all the filth you've done washed away, it is a command. And Christ calls us to have our name written in this book. There's two sets of books, the books of justice and then the one book, the book of the Lamb. And all you're getting, whatever else you accomplish in your life, get your name written in this. It's not something you can do because you're necessarily a great Christian or a moral person or anything else like that. But it's by coming to Christ and having your everything washed and cleansed. Okay, this is what I'm going to speak on. There's the lake of fire, but then there's the sea of crystal, the sea of mercy. Each one is based on a different set of books. And we all will face justice, but for those who meet the Lamb and come to the Lamb for mercy, they will also face mercy. Hope that helps.